Hi everyone, I'm Grace Ambrook. This is a video around expansive leadership. So as we live in a rapidly changing world, the qualities and the aspects of leadership are expanding into new realms. And today I just wanted to touch on some of those qualities and some of those perspectives that support you as a leader to be on that leading edge of creation and possibility for your people. And so I'm going to share a screen with you to help us run through this most effectively. And so come with me just for a moment as I grab that screen. So here we are, expansive leadership, expanding your impact as a leader. One of the fundamental things around leadership, of course, is it is associated with change and with difference. And just the humans being what they are, which is mostly a constricted or limited version of what they can be, and that's not a judgment, that's simply an awareness of how things work in this world. So with change and with difference, there is normally there is going to be a level of apprehension and uneasiness. So as a leader, when you're inviting people into new possibilities, whatever level that might be, there is this level of, like you as a leader, to acknowledge that there's some apprehension and some uneasiness. There's an attachment that we all have to the familiar, to the comfort zone and the way things are, because there's a sense of confidence in what you know. So, and the most hilarious thing I think about this is that even if people are aware that something is not functioning very well, but they actually know how that dysfunction functions, they are still attached to it because it is familiar. Better the crap that you know than the possibilities that you don't, unfortunately. So as a leader, it's really important that there's a consciousness and awareness within the background, always humming along here, around the apprehension and the uneasiness and the unfamiliarity, God, that's a hard word to say, of greater success and greater contribution that many people have. So you as the leader, some of the fundamental things to keep right at the front of your presence is that change is always expansive. It is a natural extension of vision, so the vision that people have for themselves, the vision for the organization that you're working within. It's a natural extension of that, and it's a natural extension of possibility. And change is innately full of potential, but also like change is innate. So just look at nature as a guidance for that, which I often encourage people to do, is, you know, what does nature do with the change of seasons? Well, it accommodates, it drops leaves, or it grows new growth in the spring. So change is actually innate. And so when people are resistant to change, even though they say they want it, when they still are resistant to it, we come back to this apprehension and uneasiness of the unknown. And so you as the leader, it's really important that there's a holding of this awareness so that you can connect at the level that creates the greatest opportunity for change. So you're actually bringing people along in the same river. You're not making them do things. You're actually inviting them into the river that you're already in. So, and, you know, as a leader, this essence of knowing that this is a massive opportunity for everyone and everything. Like, So when people, if you're leading a group into greater financial lifestyle difference, greater financial capacity, if you're leading an organization into the next level of success or a new market sector, this is a massive opportunity for everyone and everything. And because of that apprehension and the comfort zone, when that's running, which has an element of fear in it, when that's running, you see, fear and creativity kind of don't work together. So when people are in fear and apprehension, they're not in their most creative capacity. And so, of course, and this is even when people are saying, no, I'm good, I really want this, and they've got a subconscious fear running there. And this is the role of the leader to actually go, oh, I could see where they're probably splitting their energy a little bit around this. That's what you do. It's like, it's your capacity as the leader to hold the potential and the possibility is the greatest connector point for all of your peeps at whatever level. So this, the leader always knows this is a massive opportunity for everyone and everything to be greater. And yes, greater means different. Whoops, yes, change means difference. Oh. So some of the qualities that I just want to bring into this, and some of them you will have worked with before, but as we go through this introduction into this, we're going to kind of add a little, a new piece of magic to these things that will really generate greater connectivity and greater speed, if you like, of the transition and the transformation that you're bringing your people through. So qualities of leadership: responsiveness, like being really present and having the capacity to respond. It doesn't actually mean that you know everything. Don't kid yourself. Don't put everything off until you actually have all the knowledge that you require, because we're always learning. And so that day will never come, hopefully, if you live a rich and fulfilling life. But your ability to respond means that your ego gets out of the way. You're actually very authentic in that. So the more authentic, the more responsive you can be, and the more connectable you are to invite people to jump in the same river as you. So where are you actually going together with this? Velocity. Velocity is it's like this mixture of grounding. It's like the power force. So it comes from the deeper knowingness and the deeper connection to where you're taking people to. So you're already there. You already know and have a knowing about the potential and the possibilities and the outcomes and all of those things. And it's like, can you allow yourself to actually be like a velocity, like a power force within that knowing? Because when you're leading other people, they don't necessarily have that all the time. You are that. You're this velocity and infinitely creative. And so into the creativity rather than the conclusions, like, because the creativity is about continuously looking for more and for greater. So it's that creative energy is much more expansive than just cause and effect equals outcome. It's this energy of, so that is like, if I do this, this should happen. It's like, just feel the energy of this. If I do this, then this should happen. Like, it's not particularly creative, and we live in a highly creative world, and we're actually highly creative beings. And so creativity is more like, oh, this is possible. How about I play around with this with a clear intention to create this, create a greater lifestyle, to create greater income, to create greater connectivity, to create greater product. It's like, so then you begin to invite in a whole different level of awareness of, oh, that is greater in its creativity than if I do this, I will get that. And then if you do this and this doesn't happen, then the whole thing starts to crumble. Whereas when you work with this creativity energy, you're always in some level of a creative process that allows you to shift and receive more and become more aware of something, or allow a sudden drop in and going, oh my God, I've been doing it this way. Perhaps we can do it this way instead. So you're always receptive to that creativity of what else can be created here. You're always asking the question, the universe is always working with me. What else can be created here? If everything that's happening is absolutely perfect for the greatest possibility, then what else can be created here? What have I never realized before that can be created in this? So you as the leader, when you're working with individuals or with groups of people, it's like when you look at the disharmony, what actually that might be present, or the despondency that might be present, it's like that creative energy will allow you to connect in with a greater possibility of actually what's sitting behind. Like when things, in inverted commas, aren't working, it means that we're not receiving something. And so this creative energy as just the logical, rational cause and effect changes everything. And as a leader, when you have that energy, people feel less despondent because there's this energy that's with the velocity and the responsiveness, like woof, moving, just you keep moving, you just keep moving, you just keep moving. And so very powerful qualities there. Resourcefulness. The greatest resource I know is the universe. You have all sorts of other resources, have apps and products and people and places and meditations and strategies. You have all of those things, all inclusive. So when this expansive leadership and conscious leadership includes everything and judges nothing. So what resources actually do you have? Full resources, which includes some of the energetic resources that that I teach people how to work with, and we'll touch on a little later in today's video as well. But it's like you've got an enormous amount of resources, and so a leader is like tapped into what all of those can be. Inclusion, kind of a non-brainer there. Like a leader is not at the front with the troops following you. That's very yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. But that's very, very, but they, anyway. So this energy of inclusion, sometimes I've witnessed leaders who think that they're at the front and everybody else is behind. And that's not particularly inclusive. And in so doing, it's an exclusion of a whole lot of resources, because the people who you are choosing to work with and collaborate with actually have a whole lot of resources that you may not have been aware of before. So what are they bringing with them? How can you include their quite often unrecognized qualities and perspectives and knowings? And so a good leader is actually open to, oh my gosh, this person in my team at whatever level, in my, in amongst my peeps, this person is bringing this. Wow, like this resource now is in my world. Oh, okay, so how do we include this to carry everything forward to, forward into the future that you're moving towards? So inclusion is often talked about, but not actually acted out. And drawing out the best. Like, so the leader is not about you being the best. Don't fool yourself thinking you have to have all of the confidence and you have to have everything sorted out. Quality leadership is about drawing the best out of everybody, including yourself. And a good leader is not hesitant around being challenged. This is like the real life experience of you knowing that you've had challenges to actually be in the leadership role, and you know everything that comes with those challenges and how to draw the best out of the people that you're with. So your focus, it's very easy for us sometimes to judge people and their potential, and when you choose to drop that judgment and go, well, I'm only here to draw out the best of you, and people's bests are different, and all of that is perfect, and you drop the judgment, then you're much more likely as a leader to be able to draw the best out and potentially change that person's life. As a leader, how available are you for greater? So this energy of being available for greater is vital. So quite often when we have a goal, I don't often use goals, I use intentions, but I don't often use goals because they're too rigid and inflexible in my world. Intentions, the etymology of the word intention is to stretch purpose. And so when we have an intention where, how available are you actually for greater? Or are you still sitting in some of the sabotages, the stories? And so as a quality, your availability for greater is something that to be nurtured and nourished within yourself, because you're actually kind of then walking your talk with everybody else as well. A skill, again, sometimes underdeveloped, is using curiosity, question, and invitation all the time. All the time. How can this video, I wonder if this video could have been better. It's not about judging what has occurred. It's about actually always being on this slipstream of greatness and slipstream of possibilities. And you're the leader, so use question, curiosity, and invitation. And as such, you are then moving with the energy, and you're facilitating others to move with the energy. And it's such an underrated, depending on where you are in corporate worlds and business structures, it's like everything is energy and it's dismissed. So how do you move? Not how do you move, but using curiosity, question, invitation as facilitators of actually moving with the energy and being flexible enough and resourceful enough to actually move with the energy. So what happens if your team comes in and all of a sudden, you were planning to do X, Y, and Z, and you come into the team and you become extremely aware of an energy that's sitting within the team. And although you plan to do X, Y, and Z, you can actually invite them to come with your awareness of what's actually sitting within your team today and say, well, okay, let's spend X amount of time actually transforming this energy and seeing what this energy, it could be despondency, it could be that everybody's a bit flat today, perhaps something happened to one of the members in the team and everybody's feeling flat, and or everybody's feeling like super on. And it's like, if everybody's feeling super on, you might want to do something else as well. This is this moving with the energy. It's okay. So if everybody's feeling like super switched on because somebody's just had great success, let's use question, curiosity and invitation to expand that out and go, okay, what has that shown to you about what's possible for you? What has that indicated for you? It's like, and then garnish that energy and go with the flow, go with the slipstream, move with the energy. And this doesn't have to be an either or. So if you've perhaps gathered the group together intending to do X, Y, and Z, I can guarantee you that if you're moving with the energy and you pick up this energy of like great celebration, everybody's on a high, or everybody's feeling a bit burnt out or disappointed, if you take that energy and the energy that you had come with, they will weave into greater transformation than you could possibly have ever imagined. So this is the resourcefulness. This is about using question and curiosity. This is about being available to actually create something that truly works outside cause and effect logistics, that it has to run this way. And it's staying in that creative energy all the time. Like you can feel how people come with you. It's not you dragging them along, and it's not them asking you to show them the way. It's like you are truly doing this as a leadership, like you are a step or two ahead of them. That's, like, yeah, okay, but it's like together. And you're not having to drag them, and they're not having to hang on, because you're actually inviting them into a reality that exists, because you're moving with the energy, because the reality and the energy are the same thing. So these are important qualities. And coming from celebration, I often invite people, and myself. It's like sometimes, you wake up and you just like, it's a bit odd, like, I don't know, it just feels a bit odd, a bit ordinary, maybe a bit flat. And the question I ask, and I encourage others to ask themselves in that, is like, okay, so what's to be celebrated here? And it's very simple, and it can be the simplest of things. So for me, it's very often, the joy of seeing my beautiful puppy's face and her little wagging tail. And the moment you step into celebration the celebration energy actually is like a catalyst for your creativity and some of the other qualities that I've been referring to in this sharing. So celebration, I could do a whole other presentation on celebration, in fact, on all of these qualities, but it's a very powerful energy, and it's far more than going out for a drink and celebrating. It's actually it's like a love fest, a love fest energy. And when you love something, all the oxytocin runs through your body, and when you're feeling good, things move more easily in life. It's like, hello. So the celebration is a beautiful energy. And it doesn't actually always mean that everything is good. This is not about having this naive interpretation that everything's always, everything has to be perfect or everything has to be good. Like, celebration actually allows you to celebrate everything. As I said earlier on, consciousness accepts everything and judges nothing. And celebrating the awareness of you and the awareness that you have, again, as a leader, it's like, okay, so let's keep in that energy that maintains momentum. So another quality is consistently choosing more knowing. So when I talk about knowing, I'm not talking about knowledge. So, knowledge is, if you're a programmer, you have all of this knowledge. I trained in many things, energy, and some of that sits as knowledge. I know about the different meridians and what they do and what they affect. And your knowledge is about the products that you might be involved with or the services that you provide. So you have that knowledge. But what I'm talking about here is a quality of a leader that comes from that knowing. And I was referring to it before when we were talking about moving with the energy. And like, you just know that the group require something, would benefit from something. It's like, and it's a knowing, it's a connectivity to your greater awareness. And it may not always be logical, but from my own life and the people I work with, when you follow that knowing, like you're following the energy, and you pop it back into what you're creating, watch what happens. So as an example of that, I was recently working with a person who they have a number of businesses, and they'd couple of those businesses were for sale. And I'm just trying to think of how to abbreviate this story. They kind of forgot the knowing that the two businesses that they were selling were actually really good businesses. There's some energy behind it that puts one of them in a longer term, perhaps a little bit questionable in terms of its profitability in 5 or 6 years. But basically, these people are very successful. They run good businesses. They're a step ahead of most of the people within their sector. Anyway, so they've made a choice to sell 2 of the businesses. And what they did was they dropped their knowing of how good these businesses are and what good business people they are. So in the negotiations, everything went kind of a bit like skewy, you know. And it was like, I said to them, it's like you're sitting at the back door like a dog waiting to be thrown some bone in order to be happy with what's been offered to you, because, you know, there's a potential lack of profitability in 5+ years. I said, guys, come on, like seriously, they're good businesses. They've just been renovated. All of these things, you're good business people. Show up in these negotiations as good business people. That, you know, they'd actually had this person just throwing money, not money, well, that too, throwing offers at them. And I said, well, have you told them what your offer is? Like, what is your figure that makes the businesses for sale for you? And they hadn't even done it. So they know, and the reason I share that is they're knowing of themselves as business people. They're knowing of them, of the quality of the businesses that they're selling. That all dropped away. And all of a sudden there's this passive energy. And so holding on to your knowing is, well, not holding on to it, but you know, like being in your knowing, wow, such a powerful field. You show up as you. This is what you know, and knowing is like, oh yes, some people are with me, some people aren't, some people are finding it difficult, some people are wanting more. That's your knowing. So staying in that is just like amazingly inspiring for yourself and for all of those around you and your team. And so that kind of merges pretty quickly with be an aware presence. Your awareness is your greatest gift as a leader, as a human being. And if you actually are using your awareness, that is one of the qualities that will make you a good leader. Yeah, so everybody has it, but not everybody utilizes it, claims it, owns it, respects it, incorporates it in their choices. So be an aware presence. An awareness and a knowing, you know, they'll work hand in hand. And it's a quality of a leader. And as you develop and you are that, so you're leading as that, or you're actually in your awareness and you're in your knowing, subconsciously you're giving them permission to actually start to trust their own knowing. And I touch on that a little bit later, and in further work with that's what we start to develop. Oh, too fast. Qualities: claim and own your infiniteness and the contribution of awareness. So in essence, every single one of us is an infinite being living in an infinite world with infinite possibilities available to us. That's the big picture. And then there's all sorts of stuff that go on in and around that. But as a leader, it's like, okay, claim where you're at, own where you're at, own the contribution of awareness, which is just like own it. And, I was so exciting about consistently choosing more knowing, different from knowledge, that I left it in twice. And to follow on from that, it's that energy is the first indicator of everything else. And as a leader, if you're not tuning into the energy, if you're not tuning into what you're aware of, if you're dismissing that because you're busy being rational and the manual says this, this, and this, and you're not incorporating some of the benefits of the manuals and the swipe files and the, whatever it is, and the processes and the strategies. It's not throwing the baby out of the bathwater. This is adding the magic, adding the energy, adding. That energy is the first indicator of everything else. So if you added the energy in to what is being presented to you, then away you go. And as a leader, you want to walk that talk. And that's staying in that creative energy of where we started. So there's a whole lot of beautiful qualities for you to start to be very conscious of in your leadership contribution. And, as a leader, what are you actually doing? Those qualities are really who you're being. And as a leader, what are you doing? Because, we be, do, and have, not the other way around, not waiting for us to have something before we do anything, and then we can be something. Very backward. What I'm sharing with you here is about the qualities of being, and then what are the leaders doing, and then what do you have as a result of that? So leaders are doing empowering things. They're doing inclusion. They're doing drawing out the best from all of those qualities that we've talked about before. So how am I empowering people? What would it take for me to empower this person who might be, dragging along behind a little bit in the current project that you're leading them through? Because of that dynamic, are you including them? What would it take? What would it take to include them? What is it that they're not aware of, that they're not contributing, that you could draw out of them and include it into the project? So as the leader, when you can reduce, hopefully drop off completely any of the judgment and truly work in inclusion and drawing out the best, it's so interesting. Other people will either stay with you or they will go. And if they go, it's because they're not actually prepared to do what your particular way, which is not going to work for you and it's not going to work for them. So bless them for having the courage to walk away. It has nothing to do with you. It's like, not everything is a match in the universe. Leaders are sharing their vision. But there's a big difference. I've come across people who share their vision, but it's like it's theirs and there's no invitation to come into it or to contribute to it or to be part of it. And this is where the invitation, inviting others to that vision is so important. And so quite often, and social media is a good example of this. People are sharing the vision of them, but there is actually very little invitation. What a lot of it does is it kind of separates. It's like, they can do this and they're having that, but I don't know how to do it, because there actually isn't an invitation just in showing people things. There's a different energy in inviting people. And so what would it mean if, when you shared your journey, your contribution on social media, what if everything of that, what are you actually inviting them to do through that sharing? Or are you just showing them what you've done and hoping that they'll want it too? Very slow. What are you actually inviting them to? What is it what are you connecting to in them that you know about them that they've not given themselves permission to know about themselves yet? And talk to that. And leaders are tuning into joy and ease. Now, ease is not necessary. I'm not always talking about easy, but I am talking about ease, because when you're in that super flow, when you're tuned in, when you're doing all of that, there is an ease to that. There is a natural, and that is the ease that I'm referring to. And that normally has like this sense of joy. It's like, oh, that was good. Like we did what was on the agenda, but oh God, we've got all this other stuff, which relates to ease, because you're tuned in enough to the energy to bring them into the same river as you, all traveling in the same direction. Yes, let's do that. That's a leader. That's a leader everybody wants to be hanging out with. And if they don't like the river, they'll jump out, which is perfect, because you don't want you to pollute your river. And they go to somebody else's river and they fit in there. Perfect. Yeah. So it's not about you. So leaders are tuned to what is not yet manifested and invite and allow infinite possibilities to work through them. So this is this next level. We've got the qualities, what you're doing. And this is this overriding energy. Like you're tuned in to what is possible. And you are, as you work with the energy, you are working with infinite possibilities and inviting that to work with you, which is inviting more and more awareness to contribute to the journey and the contribution that you're bringing to your people. Lots of smiles, lots of, oh my God, and creating a new world together. Amazing. Excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. Oh, I often get an itchy nose when I'm on fire. So this leadership, this expansive leadership is, I'm sure you can feel, is way more than figuring things out. This expansive leadership is about really stepping into co-creating with the universe, about asking these questions about what can transform here, allowing and inviting the universe to guide and contribute to the strategies and the structures that you've been provided with by the existing business, by people who've done it before you, by the way that organizations function. It's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's like this and more. And the more will most often come from your awareness, and you're looking at the energy and adding that to what you already know in other ways. And then taking inspired, attuned action from curiosity and possibility. So that curiosity and possibility is also related to stepping out of conclusion and judgment. So every time, and this is the way particularly large organizations work. Well, actually, no, lots of people work this way. It's that you conclude that you have this goal and that's exactly what's going to happen. And what I'm introducing in this leadership is that there's a highly creative capacity. So it could be your goal, but as I said earlier, when you work with intention, it's about like stretching purpose. Yeah. So there is an intention, there's an energy that you're moving towards. Absolutely. But if you step out of the conclusion and the judgment of that, well, actually, if you step out of the conclusion, then regardless of what actually happens, this and more, or this and something completely new, never really realized before, that actually takes you then onto a whole new slipstream. Like, you can only keep going forward without some of the emotional highs and lows of, oh, I did this, or this didn't work, or this did work, or this didn't work again. I've tried something else and this hasn't worked. And so there's this, it's like taking inspired, attuned action from curiosity and possibility. Oh, I wonder what happens if I go down this track. I wonder what happens is if I do this challenge. It's like, oh, it's totally different from, if I do this challenge, I should be right from here on in. No, I wonder what happens. I wonder what the awareness is. I wonder what's something I've never realized before I can actually find while I'm doing this challenge. And then when you find that, how do I leverage what I've just learned into, my team? How much more, like, and I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was. Oh, I thought that I was going to. And it's like, well, all of that is conclusion. And in that conclusion, I thought I was going to get that. You're not seeing everything else that is possible, everything else that is on offer. because, oh, I'm only looking for this. And kind while, you know, brilliant people who are in that group are tossing around all of these incredible possibilities, experiences, and because you've concluded that it must look like this, you miss out on all that. So as the leader, you are creating that environment. So definitely there's this energy that you're heading towards, but it's always this and more. Always this and greater. Because then you're actually open to everything that's on offer. And some of it will be for you and some of it won't be. It's all okay. It's just taking in what is in attunement and in possibility for you. So this is not figuring it out. This is a highly creative, I can't think of the word. It's like all I can think of the word is cauldron, but it's like a whole, you know, this beautiful space. That's right. It's just like a great big mixing bowl and they put everything in and what else can be created here. So this is the leader that definitely takes you, you know, takes you there, and all your key performance indicators, they're not excluded, they're added to. Imagine adding to them. This and greater. So I think that's kind of what I just said. So it's about allowing and incorporating all the higher order awarenesses, insight, intuition, to actualize through the change that you might be leading your team through, or through what you are building with these people. It's allowing and incorporating higher order awareness, insight, intuition, possibilities to actualize through this, not either or. So that brings together all of this beautiful, expansive leadership. I hope that that's really contributed and stimulated and activated some new ways for you to be within your beautiful group that you have the privilege of moving through into greatness. So thank you everybody for listening, and I look forward to at some point expanding a whole lot of things that we covered today into aspects that interest you, that click with you, and that you can incorporate into your incredible leadership contribution into this vastly changing world that we live in. Thanks so much. Bye for now.